Welcome back to the Global Business Report on Arise News. Just a couple segments ago, we talked about the oil and gas industry procuring medical supplies for a number of states in Nigeria in an effort of the private sector to assist a number of states and country people around the world with being able to suppress the effect of COVID-19. And by mentioning COVID-19, of course, we've also consistently talked about the coalition against COVID-19 that's been led by the private sector in partnership with the central bank. So let's keep the conversation going. We now have, joining me live, Sadiq Usman, the Deputy Chief Operating Officer of the Agro-Allied Division of Flour Mills Nigeria PLC, to talk about how they procured, I believe, about 36,000 test kits, which they plan to distribute around the country. Mr. Usman, you're welcome to the Global Business Report. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to quickly get you to tell us, to share with us exactly how you came about in procuring or getting these test kits from overseas to Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate the work that you're doing at this time. It's not easy, I know. Thank you. It's been a very interesting effort. As you can see from my background and my day-to-day job, I'm involved in the Agro-Allied Division. But when we started seeing this crisis unfold, particularly in Nigeria, we had inspired thinking led by the chairman of our group, and he assembled a formidable team together internally that immediately swung into action about 4 weeks ago. It looks like now, 4 weeks ago, which seems like a lifetime ago. We assembled, and in the team we had procurement experts. We had technical expertise supporting us with virologists. And with that, we literally were given a free hand to go globally and start sourcing for these kits. Our focus was essentially in 3 areas: testing kits, ventilators, and personal and protective equipment. And I'm pleased to say that despite significant challenges that are not, surprising, bearing in mind that there's a lot of demand globally for these things, I'm pleased to say that we were quite successful in our endeavors indeed.
Fantastic. I would like for you to delve in a little bit, if you can, into those challenges, because I want to give you an example. The governor of Maryland in the United States, Mr. Governor Hogan, was able to procure a number of test kits from South Korea, but he was only able to do that because his wife is South Korean. So she was the mediator that helped to broker those kits coming in, because as you just mentioned, the countries around the world are clamping down and holding on to these kits and not letting them go. So that was a tough negotiation for for the governor. So what kind of challenges did you face in trying to get them over here?
Thank you very much. Well, unfortunately, I don't have a wife that's South Korean. I have something better.
Yes.
My wife is an infectious disease specialist. So she gave us tremendous amount of support in terms of what we were trying to accomplish and giving us advice and guidance. We had a procurement expertise. The company I work for has, a tremendous procurement expertise anyway. By the name, that's second nature to us. That's something that we do every day. But in this situation, we had to deal with a lot of disappointment around, getting commitments from people for testing kits or ventilators, and then we'll get cancellations, or we'll get other governments in other countries who would come in at the last minute and change regulations around exports, who it could be exported to, what quantities we could buy despite firm commitment. That was a particular challenge. And also in terms of the logistics, another challenge was relating to some of the consumables we're bringing in had to be refrigerated. And as you can imagine, we had challenges with ensuring that, for instance, we're trying to bring in refrigerated reagents from China and making sure that they were kept at the right temperature all the way via sometimes, we had equipment going from China to Amsterdam, from Amsterdam to Doha, and then to Lagos. In between that time, there was uncertainty on whether the airports in Nigeria were open to receiving cargo of this kind. So all manner of challenges, but I'm pleased to note that we surmounted these challenges because of the hard working team that we have, and in particular also the support from the NCDC that we got, and the Presidential Task Force, and other government agencies. I would make a special mention to the Ministry of Finance for providing the support to ensure that we did not have any hitches with the equipment on arrival.
Fantastic. That's quite a bit of perseverance on your part, and great to have this support from the government agencies, because you plan to distribute these very vital items now that you've gotten your hands on them.
Well, we've already started distributing because we know that the need is quite acute. We've been monitoring things, as I said, very closely, and we've got a good technical team with us who keep us abreast of what's going on regarding testing on a daily basis. But if I go through some of the major equipment sort of one by one, in terms of the testing kits, we're working with NCDC. We know there's already an established testing network all across the country. So we're aiming to get our testing kits to all of those already established testing laboratories across the country, and NCDC as well. In terms of the ventilators, we're looking at hospitals. We'll start with hospitals in Lagos, Abuja, and Kano specifically, where the number of cases appears to be the highest, or the need appears to be the most acute at the moment. And in terms of the PPE, we have enough PPE for 10,000 healthcare workers for the next 2 months. We brought in that. So we're hoping that that PPE would also be given through NCDC, as well as the hospitals that have been designated as isolation or treatment centers for COVID-19.
All right, Mr. Usman, very briefly, only got about less than a minute to go. What's your outlook for the rest of the year with regards to this fight against COVID-19, considering your efforts from Flour Mills Nigeria and the rest of the private sector? What's your outlook? How do you see things playing out?
Well, it's certainly going to be a challenging year. I think all the data we're seeing suggests that a recession is almost inevitable. It's more than likely. It's going to be a challenging year. We are well positioned. Nigeria would be this year. We've weathered the storm, and we will weather the storm, just like we've weathered other storms in the past. We are not trying to respond to the situation, but just as you've seen from the example of medical equipment, we're trying to be ahead of the situation. I feel we're well positioned. We've taken deliberate strategic decisions within the group to domesticate our supply chain a few years ago, and we've made very good progress in that. So we're shielded increasingly. So we're well positioned operationally. We're trying to prepare for a post-COVID world as well.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your efforts on behalf of Flour Mills of Nigeria assisting in the fight against COVID-19. Thank you for joining us on the Global Business Report. We've been talking to Sadiq Usman, the Deputy Chief Operating Officer of the Agro-Allied Division of Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Global Business Report. Thank you so much for watching Arise News, and thanks for your company. I am Arut Suri Odiri.